Microsoft Ignite, if you don't know, is one of, I guess, two of Microsoft's big conferences. Is that right? So there's Microsoft Ignite and Microsoft Build, and Microsoft Ignite is the exciting one, and Microsoft Build is the more software development focused one. Is that right, guys?
Yeah, basically. Yeah. This is all the end user announcements.
Brilliant. So, Ash, when you first walked into Ignite, what was that moment that made you think, okay, this place is on a different scale?
Honestly, I think it was this keynote. So in the picture there, you can see we walked into an NBA stadium that holds like 19,000 people, and it was full. So in the photo, I didn't quite capture it was completely full up the top as well. So coming from New Zealand events where there's not as many people, it was pretty mind-blowing. So yeah, it was next level, I think.
Awesome. Now this was in San Francisco, is that right?
Yes, it was. So this is the Moscone, this is the Chase Center, which is where the Warriors NBA team play. But the rest of the conference was at Moscone. So.
Very cool. And how would you describe the overall vibe there? Like energizing, overwhelming, inspiring, or all of the above?
It was definitely all of the above. So all of the demos were really slick. It was inspiring, energizing, all of that. But there were over 70 announcements over the 4 days. So it was only 3 days online, but it was 4 days in person. So it was pretty overwhelming and tiring at times. It was definitely contagious, and seeing what Microsoft has built was in person was really, really cool. So it was definitely information overload, though.
Awesome. How many days did it last for?
It was 4 in person, but 3 online.
Cool. Right. So what does a typical day there at Ignite look like for you?
Well, I started at Starbucks every day because the coffee wasn't great at the conference. But then every day was really different. So there were quite a few different types of sessions. So there were labs, there were talks that were recorded, which are now online. There were community events, and then there was this thing called the Hub, which was full of partners, all the experts, and different breakout sessions in there as well. So every day was really different. The first day I probably overcooked it and went session. So the next day I kind of took that back and went to a few sessions, but then also just went and talked to all the experts and walked around the hub, which was really nice.
Very cool. And just talking about the scale of the place and the event, like how many steps did you actually clock there? What was your survival strategy?
On average, it was 17,000 steps a day. So it was over 4 buildings. So you were walking between buildings, and then the hub honestly took me about 20 minutes just to get around from one end to the other itself. So it was definitely comfy shoes and water. I found water really hard to find on the first day. So that was the second day, was just making sure I had lots of water, but a lot of steps.
And did you have any like a wrong room or accidental adventure moment while you were there?
Definitely an accidental adventure. So I was sitting in a session that I am actually going to go watch online now because I really want to see it. But I was sitting there and I thought I might just go do an exam. So they offered free exams while you were there. So I left the session after a couple of minutes and went up to the certification place, said, can I book an exam? The guy thought I was crazy just walking into an exam that I hadn't prepped for. I did fail it, which I'm not too bothered about because I actually got 65% and 70% is the pass, and I hadn't done any study for it. So I will retake it. But that was probably my crazy moment.
Very cool. And did you meet anyone really particularly memorable, or did you overhear anything that made you smile?
There were a lot of people, and everyone was obviously in an energetic, positive mood. So I did meet quite a few people. Not as many as I'd actually hoped for, but when you're at a conference full of introverts, it's everyone's pretty silent, so it's quite funny. But I did meet some people, and we're still in contact today, just talking to each other. I met Steve's friend Heather, which is on screen right now, so that was cool. But the community expert area was a was quite a cool buzz place to hang out. There were all the experts, all the MVPs, and they were all in their hub for the area that they work in, and you could just walk up and talk to them about what has been announced or any questions you had. And so, yeah, I don't remember many names, but there were a lot of people that I met.
Cool. No Bill Gates.
Well, actually, I met the mannequin version of him on my holiday before Ignite. So,
Oh, that sounds just as good.
Yeah, exactly.
Excellent. All right. And was there anything you saw that made you think you wish more New Zealand events did this?
To be honest, I think New Zealand do events pretty well for our culture and for the size of what we are, and we do have a lot of MVPs and things like that that do present at community events, which is quite alike. But just attending an event like that where you are focused on the announcements and what's coming up was something that I think we miss here. And I think attending online is not the same as seeing the announcements in person and just being there for that hype. So I think we do events pretty well, but it was just being part of that kind of scale was very different.
Awesome. And was there a session or a moment of the keynote that landed strongest for you in person?
Yeah, so the keynote was pretty cool. So it introduced Work IQ, which is going to be the buzzword, which I think is another question. It introduced Trust and Intelligence and the Frontier program. But what they did was actually made up a fictitious company and showed people using what they were announcing. And they used a story of giving every attendee a free t-shirt, and they used Excel, Copilot in Excel and all those kind of things to place an order and get all the t-shirts there within 6 minutes. So it was pretty cool, very slick, but that was very cool. And then there was another talk, which I am writing a blog at the moment, which I'm going to release, where they talked about Microsoft Foundry, and that is a new tool working with Copilot Studio. So Microsoft Foundry is more developer focused, but they've built it on the same language. And the reason that stood out for me was because if you've used the Microsoft tools, a lot of the time they don't talk to each other. But what this is doing is it's written on the same language, which means you could have more hybrid projects with developers. So you work in the tool that best suits you. So Microsoft Foundry, I'd say Pete and our team would probably quite enjoy because he's developer focused, and then I could stay in Copilot Studio, but we could work on an agent together. So that's where it's heading. So I thought that was really cool that they were actually working on the tools, talking to each other and using the same language.
Very cool. And just confirming, you had the capability to make a t-shirt in 6 minutes, but you still didn't bring me back one.
Well, I brought myself back too.
Yeah, but you didn't bring one back for me. Just confirming that. Okay, great. So, yeah. Was there a topic or trend that you felt like is going to drive conversation in tech next year? And you're not allowed to say AI.
So there were 4 words that were mentioned a lot. Work IQ, which was kind of the theme for Work IQ and Frontier Firm were the theme for the whole event, I think. And I think that will just come through in all the updates. Intelligence and trust were 2 words that came out a lot. And then the other one that I heard a lot, which I hadn't heard in a while, was human. They talked a lot about human interaction, and that was pretty much in every session as well.
That's one. So what surprised you about the continental scale of the learning opportunities there?
The depth of the integration, how far they've taken Copilot. So basically within M365 Copilot, you're going to be able to do everything from talking to agents, which are now going to become identities, and then Copilot's embedded in Power Apps and Word and Excel, and you don't need to really switch between the products to do what you need to do. It's all in one place. And then, as I said before, just being present for all the announcements was a massive learning opportunity. So I think when I attend online, I sign up to go to all the sessions, but don't really pay attention as much as I should. And so I think you get distracted by work priorities as well. So I think that was huge learning. And then they had actual labs in person where you could be on the computer with someone teaching you how to do different things. So that was cool.
That's fun. Do you have a funniest or weirdest Ignite moment?
I have a couple. So the AI photo booths that different places had, I took quite a few, and those photos are now in archive and will never be seen again, but they're quite funny. One weird moment was being in sessions where they were actually comparing Copilot to ChatGPT in the sessions side by side. So I found that quite weird at the start, but I kind of got the understanding that they're trying to show how Work IQ really works for end users, because they were putting the same thing into each one. And Work IQ obviously has the capability to read through your emails and your Teams chats, and so it's a lot more, brings in all your work aspects, I guess. So that was weird. And another funny moment was being interviewed by TeamViewer, which we can send out the link for later.
Awesome. I think, is that on LinkedIn as well, that one?
Yeah.
Yeah, cool. Best piece of swag.
Yep.
Don't bring up the t-shirts again, please.
So the t-shirt was really cool. No, the Ignite bag that you get for attending was pretty cool. And then I think just any swag you were given, because to get the swag you had to talk to people and connect with people. So most of the things I got has a little bit of a story behind it. And then actually the t-shirts, ordering 20,000 t-shirts in 6 minutes was pretty cool.
After the 20,000 available, it's still not one for me.
Yeah.
Is that right? Okay,
yeah.
Great. Did you have, this is definitely not a New Zealand moment at Ignite?
Every moment was a this is not New Zealand moment, especially because of the accents as well. But just the scale, it's hard to imagine walking around with that many people around you, all there for the same reason. So it's cool.
Oh, and the tech sector kind of has a bit of an issue with gender diversity, shall we say, and generally tend to be male dominated. What was the gender diversity there like?
To be honest, it was predominantly male. So I would say probably 80% male. In the keynote in the section I actually counted how many females there were, and there were 6 around me, which was a pretty big section. So definitely predominantly male. But there were a lot of community events for women and things at the event, which was really cool, which I missed out on, which is coming in one of my tips, but that's right.
That's fun. And what do you think every first time Ignite attendee should know before they go?
Pretty much what I just said, that I missed a session. So plan your sessions early. I didn't realize there were different types of sessions, and some of them you couldn't get into once they were fully booked. You could probably risk it and go, because a lot of people were RSVPing and then changing their mind. But some of the sessions were limited, and especially there was some sessions held in the Marriott, which was one room. So that room was broken up into 4 kind of areas with dividers, but when you were in those sessions, you had headphones and you were listening to the speaker through headphones, which was quite an interesting experience, but obviously limited the amount of people that could be in the room with those speakers at that time. Attend the 101 session. That was really good. That was on the Monday, so before the event kicked off, and that just gave you some tips on how to make the most out of Ignite. And then I would probably take 2 sessions a day that you think were really important that you would want to attend, and then plan based on those 2. So they're all across different buildings and things like that. So make sure you get to those 2 and then take breaks, because it is overwhelming.
And if you could redo one thing differently, what would that be?
I think just scheduling more time for the in-person things that weren't recorded. So I did go to quite a few things that were recorded that I could probably catch up on after. So there were a lot of networking and community things, which I did attend, but probably just scheduling more time for that.
Awesome. And it was in America, so here's a really American question for you. What's something you learned about yourself at a conference that huge?
So something that this conference did for me was actually reignite my passion for what I do. I don't think I overly lost it, but I think when you're in the day-to-day of doing it every day and you're just building, you're kind of in the midst of projects, you lose that passion. So I think going to that reignited why I do what I do and how what I do impacts real workers.
Awesome. And for our webinar attendees that might want to go in the future, what should they look at beforehand, or any blog posts or replays or must-see moments you think they should warm up with?
Yeah, so I'm in the process of just finishing up a blog, which I'm going to share the sessions that I attended, which are predominantly Power Platform based. So I think those are sessions that if you get time, should definitely be watched. And then the book of news is great. And in a few slides, I've got the prompt that I use to summarize the announcements from Power Platform.
Awesome. So were you going to do a demo, or we're going to do Q&A? Yep.
Yeah. So my top tip from the conference was to use Microsoft 365 Copilot. Obviously, all the talks about it, but I actually used a prompt in every session. So I didn't have my laptop because I'd been backpacking for 5 weeks before it. So I just had my phone. But what I did was I used this prompt here. And obviously AI helped me write it, but I just took this prompt and put my notes at the bottom of it as the session was going with any pictures that I took. And then what that did was posted out all my notes with all documentation and context, which was coming from MS Learn and Ignite and all that kind of stuff. So I'm going to show what I did with that after I used that prompt, but I'll show in a minute. So, yeah, and then I'm going to show notebooks. So, sorry, this is the prompt that I used for the Microsoft Ignite Book of News. So I took the URL and said what I was more interested in, and then got it to spit out some information about what I really want to know. Cool, and I'll just go through the announcements that were probably highlight for me, and then I'll show some of them actually working. Cool, so this is the new AI Skills Navigator. So Microsoft has put in a lot of time into the MS Learn Hub. So if you're wanting to do certifications or exams or something like that, they've actually changed how it works. So you put in your roles that you play and you put in your learning preferences, and then it will start to build a kind of learning module based on how you like to learn and what kind of role you did. So if you press play, yeah, so here I'm just selecting the roles that might be equivalent to me. So you can go through and do that. Should have just done a couple instead of 10, but anyway. And then your learning preference. So they're really trying to accommodate for everyone. So it's now not just written material. They're going to bring in videos from YouTube and everything like that to help with people learning for certifications and different lab areas, things like that. So once you put in your information, it already pops up with some things like that. So I haven't gone through and done anything, but that's kind of what it suggested straight away just from putting in my role and how I like to learn. Cool. So Copilot and Enterprise Agent enhancements that I enjoyed learning about. So Agent 365 governance control. This is really cool. So what this does is it brings a area in the admin center for you to govern all agents created within the 365 area. So that's including in Microsoft Copilot Studio, M365 Copilot, everything. So it's just one pane where you can see everything that's happening within there and manage and monitor what's happening. Integration with Microsoft 365. So MCP servers were a big topic, and the integration with Outlook, SharePoint, OneDrive, Word, and Calendar. One that I really liked was Copilot Studio Evaluation. So I saw this in a few sessions, but what that means is in Copilot Studio, you are now going to have a tab called Evaluations where you can test the how well the agent is giving you answers. So whether you want the same answer every time for a similar question and things like that. But I'll have more information on that once it's in preview. And then computer use automation. So this is basically going to take Simon's job. So what we can do is create an agent and then get it to use a computer. So it can do a virtual machine or a browser, and you can teach it what to do. And then when the agent is triggered, it will go away and do that. So you can input information into the trigger, and then it can go and fill in browser forms, application forms, and things like that, and then pretty much automate the whole process.
I'm really looking forward to being automated.
Yeah, and then you can just record it in your timesheet. So
Perfect.
Cool. Power Platform innovations. So we've got the new Maker portal for React apps. So I'm going to show this. It's called Vibe. I don't think it's 100% there yet. There's still quite a lot of questions, but I'll show you where it's heading. We've got the Copilot integration enhancements. So researcher and analyst agents and things like that are now available in M365 Copilot. And then for the same, we've also got the MCP server capabilities. So it allows Power Apps to use skills expanding and its automation possibilities.
Simon, did you just catch Ash going very American then with her M365?
I was there on M365.
I was there for a month.
M365 bingo.
Cool. M365 Copilot updates. So we've got Work IQ. So that was one of the major announcements. And what it does is it really uses the memory and what you've done in the past and all your conversations and all your work that you have access to improve the Copilot responses that you're getting. So it is using things like your manager, the meetings, telling you that you've said that you'll do this. So it's kind of there now in Copilot, but I think it's just on another level once this actually is released. We've got new agents for productivity apps. So Word, Excel, and PowerPoint, they all have a new kind of layer. And then Sora 2 AI video creation. So I haven't played much with that, but it was one of the major announcements. Cool. And then there was a lot of talk about frontier firms. So what that means is all the announcements were really end user focused, or that was my perspective. And so one of the things was governance. How do we govern what is being released for end users? So there were a lot of sessions about how you can use what they are releasing in terms of like Agent 365 to govern AI and things like that without causing too many risks or breaches. Empowering everyday workers. So there is a lot of focus on M365 Copilot and allowing employees to create agents and create workflows and create apps all from conversations that they're having with Copilot. So what they're trying to do is use your experts in the organization, which are your everyday workers, to build and manage their own kind of automations. Obviously, for me, that springs, that just is quite scary, because I think what messes are going to create in the background, or how does it actually work in everyday life? But that's what we're going to focus on now. How do we actually put that into practice? And then just a balance of control and innovation. So I think that was key as well. So while they are trying to empower everyday workers, I think there still needs to be a lot of governance in place, but we're trying to give them the tools so that things like shadow IT don't happen. Cool. Before questions, I'm going to share my screen and just show a few things. So the first thing, notebooks have been around a while, but I just thought I would show that I've created a notebook in M365 Copilot to kind of collate all my information from Ignite. So in here, I have all my chats. So here is one that I showed with my prompt. So there's my prompt that I showed on the screen before, and then here are all my brief notes that I took throughout the session, and then that's what it popped out while I was leaving the session. So I'd send it after the session, and then that would just create those notes for me. And then when I came back this week, within my notebook, I could now say, with all of the notes that I have in here, can you please give me a summary and action plan? So create a summary of all the documents and chats in my notebook related to Microsoft Ignite 2025, and create notes for me to share with the team, etc. So that was one thing. And then if we pop over to the Power Platform. So first I will try and create these on the go. So this is the new Vibe area. So this is the new Maker portal, which basically means you can create an app from conversation. So I have a prompt here, which is quite a long one, but I can share it if anyone wants it. So it's just telling them in conversational tone what I want to create as an app. So I will go and push create, and what that is doing. So this was already, plan was kind of already released last year, and a few people played with it, but what they've got now is the actual data and the app available in this Vibe kind of area. So if I push down on here, we can see what it's doing. And in a moment, I'll be able to click on the data. There we go. So here is everything that it's creating in the background. So this is all in Dataverse. So it's creating some tables for the information that I've asked it to create. And then what we see popping up here is the code. So I'm just going to split my screen here. And what we'll see is in the middle here, we've got code, which isn't great on the screen. And then on the right-hand side, it's actually building the Power App. So this code isn't editable yet, but if you've used CLR, you kind of get the idea of what kind of code this is. And then on the right-hand side, there's my Power App. So it's already just gone away and created that. And it'll take another few minutes.
While you're taking a few minutes, I have a question.
Yeah.
Does Vibe Power Apps require specific data centers, i.e. can it be used with AU or eventually New Zealand data center?
Good question. I'd have to look. It is stored in Dataverse, so it would be where your Dataverse environment is stored. So at the moment, it's only in the US, so this environment is in the US, but I'd have to confirm that. I'll just pop over to one that I've already actually created. So here's another one, which I was playing with before. So this is for a health firm. So you've seen Power Apps before. It's just very basic, like a gallery with forms and different things like that. But you see that I didn't have to do anything to actually build that. So it has just gone and done it all for me. And then the other one I wanted to show was the workflows frontier. So frontier is kind of like, meaning that it's in preview in a way. It's kind of, I don't really know how to explain it, but it's Microsoft's kind of demo of how it's going to come. So you can opt into this frontier program, and then you'll get access to all of the different frontier programs that they have. So there's more than one. This is just the workflow one. And so I'll put a prompt in here. So I've just said, when I receive an email, so here I'm trying to act like an end user with the subject risk or issues, automatically reply to the sender with a thank you for raising the project risk, and that it will be raised, and then send a message in Teams that summarizes the email. So if I push go on that, what it's going to do is, again, very conversational. So it's showing you what it's doing. So it is naming the workflow and setting up the trigger. And while that does that, I'm just going to send an email. That we can use to see how that works. So it's still building the workflow at the moment. So again, you can see here, it's very conversational, very different to Power Automate, where you are working with the actions. And then I will push save. and we'll test it. So hopefully that email has arrived. Yep, and so in my inbox in here, in a moment, I will get a response so we can see what's happening when. It hasn't picked it up yet. Hopefully it will. Cool. And because of demo guides, I'll just show one that I did before. So I actually already built one just before, which is very similar, but it was when I received an email with bug reply to the sender saying thank you, and then send the details in Teams. So I sent that from my look in here, and I got my thank you message. So thank you for reporting this bug. I've received it and I'll be onto it as soon as possible. And then also in Teams, I got a chat with a summary of the email, basically. And then I was able to see that in the activity feed. So quite different to Power Automate, but trying to allow end users to create workflows within their M365 Copilot. And that's all I had to show. Any questions?
Is there any special licensing required for that stuff you just showed us, Ash?
There is. Obviously, I think that's where they're heading with all this. Copilot license will be required to use most of these things.
Did you mention that the agents are being renamed as identities, and is there any more info you can share about that?
Yeah. So what's going to happen is agents are going to be have the ability to become identities in M365, which means they can basically become like people. So what that means is it will have an Outlook inbox, it will have a OneDrive and all that kind of stuff. So what that means is you can mention an agent from anywhere within Copilot, which is actually mentioning the agent, which will most likely trigger conditions. So you could create an agent on when an email is sent to that identity, which is actually an agent, then trigger this process. So an example that they showed during Ignite was when a agent received an email like an invoice, the Copilot would go and read the invoice, take the information out of the invoice, and then go and populate that into their finance system. So there was no AI builder or anything like that used. It was just using the agent as an identity to automate and trigger different processes.
Ken's just asked if there are any feature differences between the new M365 Copilot Business targeted at SMBs and the existing M365 Copilot.
There was only one session on small business M365, and it was basically showing that you could do, I think it was showing that you could do mostly what I've shown here today with like the workflows and things like that with that license, but I can follow up on that one.
All right. Questions? No more questions? Do we have any notes as we sign off, or are we at the end?
Yeah, I think if you've got any questions, send them on through and I can pick Ash's brains for you. I will send out a link to her blog once she's posted it and give you guys access. And yeah, again, if you need anything, just reach out. We are doing an extra webinar in 2 weeks' time where you can ask any question of Steve and Rich, although they said it has to be Microsoft related. So I'll send out the link to register for that too if you want to come along. But thanks for attending today.
Yeah, and I think the main thing is that we will share what we think that means for real life scenarios as we work through what each of these announcements means, because I think the demos were very slick. So just working out how that actually can be implemented in real world, we will keep you posted.
Oh, Bob's just asked me one more question. With the workflow functionality, was there anything about AI support for debugging issues and handling technical debt? That's a great question.
No. I wish. It was really focused on this frontier firm. I guess within the admin center, there's probably a lot more capabilities that COE used to do for you, which is being brought into the admin center on monitoring flows, but it didn't exactly tell you where. I didn't see that, so I can see if it is coming.
All
Thanks,
right.
everyone.
Thanks, everyone. And there'll be one lucky person that will win the digital workplace ticket that Mel, I imagine, you'll reach out to.
Yes, I will draw that on Friday when Steve is back.
Brilliant. All right. Thanks, everyone.